18 minutes before the top of the hour. Durban-based singer Bongekile Simelane, popularly known as Babes Wodumo, broke her silence in a tweet she posted yesterday, thanking South Africans for their support following her alleged abuse in the hands, or at the hands, one should say, of her boyfriend Mandla Mamphintsha Maphumulo. The video, which caused an outcry across the country, led to the intervention of National Police Commissioner Khehla Sithole, calling upon Wodumo to register a case at a police station near her. In studio with us now, we're going to take this conversation forward. We've got Kwezi Mbandazayo, who is the Women's Rights and Gender Justice Program Manager from Oxfam on gender-based violence, and Tshepo Mokoena. You'll know Tshepo, he's been our guest here many, many times. He, of course, is Karabo Mokwena's uncle, a brother to the father of Karabo, who was murdered by her boyfriend, Sandile Mantsoe, and this was last year. And he, of course, has an organization as well that focuses on gender-based violence called Moving Ahead Development Agency, or MADA. Good to have both of you. Thank you very, very much for being our guests on the program.
Thank you for having us. Morning.
You know, this, again, story of Babes Wodumo has gotten so much traction, and people are speaking about gender-based violence more now than before. And it almost takes a case like this to get people speaking again. You know, you see this all the time, though. It doesn't take an incident like this to hear stories like this. But talk to us about how bad the situation actually is.
I mean, we often refer to gender-based violence in the country as a war on women's bodies, a national crisis, a disaster. I think domestic violence, rape, sexual violence, intimate partner violence are so widespread that each of us at least have either been victims or survivors of some form of GBV, or know someone who's really close and dear to us, without even needing to go to the numbers. So it's in our lives that intimately and that frequently, and it's just embedded in the fabric of who we are as a country.
That is the saddest thing to hear. I mean, how can something like that be embedded in the psyche of who we are as a country? That line itself is devastating, because surely we are better than that. But I suppose with all the cases you see, it's difficult to think anything other than that for our psyche.
I think we should be better, and we fight to be better, but I think we're not. I mean, I think we use violence in this country as a language and as a tool to express quite a lot. We've got a history of violence. I think many, many other factors, such as the really high rates of poverty and inequality and other kind of contributing factors, do make it part of our DNA. Yeah. And I think confronting that reality and not seeing any of these cases as isolated or as shocking as they are, but seeing them as part of our everyday, is part of the face-off we need to do with our issue, which is to say, this is not spectacular. This is how we are as a people, and we need to kind of transform our every being to be better.
Okay. Tshepo, let's bring you into this conversation, because we know that you've been very vocal about this. You, of course, Karabo Mokwena's uncle, and she died the most horrific death. You know, one can only imagine what she went through at those moments. And, you know, you probably wish that maybe she had done what Babes had done beforehand, because obviously this didn't just happen suddenly at the hands of her boyfriend that he decided to kill her. This was a build-up, no doubt. But when we look at the sequence of events, and you work with different communities and men to try and stop this violence, what is the common thread that you notice in these men that are domestic abusers?
Good morning, Leanne. Can I maybe not somehow divert a bit, not answer the question, and say, you know, a bit of silence moment for the young ladies who were killed through femicide, or who were killed by their lovers. And I'm also want this morning to challenge those men who are actually carrying the stains of the blood of their partners who passed on whilst watching them, to say that, what do they say? And I'm also challenging other men who are currently beating their girlfriends or wives to say, do you want to be like Sandile? Do you want to be like the gentleman we are speaking about? I was here 2 months ago speaking to Sakina, and nothing has changed. No. So for us to start talking, we are talking and talking and talking, and the situation is actually becoming worse. So maybe it's about time that we as men must confront this problem head on. We must come together as men and try to kill this fire. Yeah. This is the wildfire. We have said a lot. I mean, you can blame the issue of how you were raised and whatever, but women are suffering every single day. I have a daughter that every time when she goes to school, I just wonder whether she'll come back not being bruised or something. So I don't want to say much. I'm saying, can women change the way we behave?
Yeah. And
can we change? Can we transform, like what she said? Can we transform? Talking and coming up with this and this. I mean, I'm doing workshops every day, and men will give you excuses.
Yeah.
No,
Let's do what you said.
Yeah.
Let's do a moment of silence. And I'm going to ask you to look into this camera. All of you. I'm going to look into that one. You choose a camera there. And when you're looking, and tell me what you are... Hold on a sec. Before we look and do this moment of silence, because I think it's very powerful. This will be an unspoken word to someone. Who are you looking at, and what do you want them to do? Are you looking at a woman who's being abused and asking her to walk away? Are you looking at a man who is abusing and telling him to stop right now? Are you looking at somebody who knows someone who's being abused and needs to do something about it? Tell me who you're looking at. We're going to do this moment, but I want this powerful moment on television to mean something. Who are you looking at as you look into that camera? And what are you telling them? What are you telling them? Tell me now.
So I am looking at, I think, the state president, and I need him to make right on his promise to set aside proper resources in the budgets to fight against GBV.
Okay, you're speaking to our president. You're looking at him in the eye in this moment of silence. Who are you looking at?
I'm also looking at prominent people like maybe the president. I also want to look at my best friend, like, Panyaza Lusufi. I want to look at the Malemas of this world to say, because you've got the power to talk to the nation, can you maybe divert a bit from politics and say, men, stop abusing your partner. Stop being inferior. Can we stop this? Because we are taking this country nowhere.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, go for it.
And most importantly for me, I'm looking at Babes and many other and all other women survivors of violence, and saying to them that whatever steps that they're taking, however they're wanting to confront what is happening to them, is absolutely enough, is right, and there's no more or no less that they should think that they should do. Yeah. This is enough for now, and I'm really proud of them, and I stand with them.
And I am looking at this man. I'm looking at a man right now, and we're going to do this now, who laid his hand on his girlfriend or his wife or his children last night, and he feels nothing. And he gets up and goes to work and puts on a suit or puts on a shirt and acts like he's the nicest guy in the world. And then he comes home and he closes the door and he smashes up his family and acts like that's normal. And they live in fear of his every waking step. And I'm looking at you. So I agree with you. I'm sick and tired of speaking. So let's have a moment. Choose that camera and look at that person. And let's have a moment of silence for these people that we're talking to. So go for it. I'm looking there and you look at your cameras, and let's do this 10 seconds of silence. We could stare at cameras all day, and we could, because I can. I can do that because I feel the anger inside of me for who I'm staring at. But you say we must stop talking and we must start doing. What must we do? Tell me what we must do now. You're a man, you speak to men, and I'm sorry that we're only focusing in on men, but this is who we're talking to right now in this particular interview. What must men do to stop behaving the way they are towards women?
Well, I think the men must stop being inferior. The men must stop being jealous. Because if you look at all these men who are beating up women, these are pretty women who, I mean, who wants to come up, whom they believe in these men. And instead of these men developing them, giving them love, they actually abuse them or they take advantage of them. For instance, I mean, I went through the history of this Babes Wodumo. If you look at all her music, he's actually featuring this gentleman who has abused her. So clearly it means for her, she can't perform if this gentleman is not around. So this gentleman takes advantage of this poor woman to say, without me, you can't do anything. But then it means this poor woman can't say anything. And she's, you know, she's abused all the time. For her to take that phone and showing the world that, please help me, I'm being abused. But to answer your question, Leanne, it's, can we stop it? Enough, it's enough. I mean, we've said it. I mean, I don't know what to say anymore because, you know, sometimes after going out of the studio, I'm being criticized by both men and women to say, you just talk. You know, talk is cheap. But maybe we must just put you women aside and talk as men and saying, guys, can we stop abusing our mothers? Can we stop abusing our sisters? Can we stop abusing our own daughters? And this is the same question that I ask to men when I run workshops. And I'm saying, if you are an abuser, okay, would you allow your daughter to be married by a man who behaves like you? And men don't answer me. I don't get answers.
Yeah, exactly. Kwezi, I can see you folded your arms. You're getting emotional over here, and rightly so. And rightly so. I want to also talk to. I'm going to let you comment, but I want to bring up a tweet. We've just put this tweet out here from Jackson Tembu, very high up in government. We all know Jackson very well, and this is the tweet that he sent out: "Arrest Mamphintsha. That's the only way of stopping Mamphintsha from continuing with his abuse of Babes Wodumo. If he is not arrested soon, he will definitely kill her. Stop women abuse, stop violence against women, stop Mamphintsha." Now, he came into a little bit of a backlash on this one, and I tell you why, because people started asking him why he's never commented on other issues. There are ANC officials, and we'll bring up the example of Mduduzi Manana's case, that he sat in Parliament with. I mean, is that an opportunistic comment? Are examples being set by people that are so high up that they get away with it? So it becomes, as you say, the DNA and the fabric of society that, you know what, do it. You're going to get away with it, so what's the problem?
I mean, you've kind of hit the nail on the head there, because we do absolutely have a culture of impunity in the country. For me, one of my first questions when he tweets something like "arrest Mamphintsha" is knowing how the criminal justice system functions and its ineptitude in dealing with kind of violence against women or gender-based violence. You get arrested, and then what happens in court, and then what happens post that. So it doesn't secure that the criminal justice system will act as a deterrent. People violate women because they know that they will get away with it as one of the reasons. And to have people who are quite high up within the ruling party, within the state, who have repeatedly violated women and who have repeatedly been protected and excuses made for them, and women being blamed throughout, you know, the kind of history even of democracy in this country, doesn't set a good precedent to now just say arrest Mamphintsha. It's about, yes, he needs to be dealt with, he needs to be arrested because Babes did lay a charge, and so that's the route she wants to take. But there's a broader and bigger thing that needs to happen. And I'm afraid that conversation for me is one of it. Because if you even look at some of the social media commentary, we're not necessarily all on the same page, even as to the fact that violence is wrong. There are people who are defending men's rights to violate women, who are saying, this is what she did, this is why she deserves it, this is what. So we actually need values conversations. We need to talk more about who we want to be, who we are, and what are some of the beliefs and norms and attitudes that enable silence, that enable violation to continue happening.
Yeah.
So you can't, on the one hand, talk about my short skirt, or on the one hand, talk about my misbehavior as an improper woman, and then think that doesn't translate into my body being a war zone in the country.
Yeah. You know, the other issue that I need to talk to is the fact, and we've mentioned these individuals in the interview, that we talk to the fact that people are very much so aware that this is happening. You know, I mean, we heard a confession yesterday, and I'm a bit confused whether or not, was it Babes Wodumo's father that said he knew about the abuse, or somebody admitted that they knew about the abuse. Please forgive me, my mind's a little bit sort of overloaded at the moment, but they knew about it. In fact, they observed, his son observed him being kicked or kicking Babes, and this is not something new. It's been going on, and people are admitting to it. How does a father know that his daughter's being treated this way and not do anything about it? How does a best friend know that his best friend is beating up his wife or his girlfriend or his children and do nothing about it? You know, I'm not talking about the ladies that are being abused, because there are many circumstances, and I can't speak to them because I am not an abused woman. I am not a domestic violence sufferer.
Yeah.
So I don't know how strong I need to be to walk away.
Yeah.
I don't know what that takes, and I know that I can't talk to that. But what I can talk to is, I know that if someone I knew was beating someone up, I would do everything in my power to get that person into the greatest trouble and help someone else. But it doesn't seem that we're doing that. How do we do that? How do we stop these people and help other people?
You remember during, just before my niece was buried, I went on national TV and I said, which my statement was actually criticized by a lot of people, but I'm going to repeat what I said, and it talks to what you are saying, that what do you say as a mother? You have this young girl who's not working, who's still at school, but she brings a very expensive phone at home. She brings a Louis Vuitton bag and everything. And what do you say as a parent? And you know she's not working, but she's got money, she's got everything. What is it that you are telling her? And it means somebody is manipulating the situation.
Act on it, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do something about it.
But parents don't. Sometimes parents don't.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Instead, some parents go to an extent of borrowing that bag and that expensive watch, going to and visit other friends and boast that, oh, my daughter
Look at
brought
my
me
daughter,
this.
look
Yes,
at her,
you understand?
well she's doing.
Exactly, yeah, she's doing well.
But knowing.
But knowing.
There's something else happening.
But you know what does that mean? You are actually handing over your daughter to the monster.
Okay. Kwezi, you wanted to interrupt.
I want to slightly I want to disagree.
Go for it.
Because I think absolutely, as people, as kind of communities, as societies, we have a role to play in kind of enabling a culture of violence. But I don't think it's fair to blame anyone other than the violator for violence. I think there's kind of sets of issues that one needs to look into. So the example you're giving is some kind of other discipline or action or conversation that needs to happen between a mother and a daughter. But nothing that's there can be immediately translated into me wanting my daughter killed. Yeah. It's a different set of things. And I think one of our issues is that we really, because of patriarchy, we very easily go to the place of blaming women for their own violence, or blaming women's mothers, or blaming just like womanhood for the things that happen to women.
Yeah.
To the point where then we also say, no, but let's also leave them out of the conversation because they don't know what they're doing, or let's say they're the ones who are giving over their children to be violated. I think it's a bit more complex.
It is a bit more complex, but sometimes we need to think for other people, particularly our children. And what I'm noticing, a bit of a common thread here, I haven't been shouted at to wrap the interview yet, so I'm hoping I can ask this question.
Yeah.
Okay, I know I'm running out of time, but let me wrap this up. Perhaps we can just each have a quick comment on this. Sometimes we need to intervene. Sometimes a more sober thinking mind needs to come to you and say, Kwezi, what are you doing? Why are you staying with this man? Move away, walk away. Why do you have this stuff? We see a young girl like Babes who perhaps has been in this situation since she was about 15 years old, and you're wrapped up in this, I want to be famous, this guy's going to do it for me. He can hit me and do what he wants to, but you know what? He's doing it for my good because... And then suddenly it becomes normal. And then one day an alarm goes off and says, no, this is not normal. And perhaps that alarm goes off before I'm buried. And that's the lucky person. But maybe that alarm was that cell phone recording it. So we do need that direction in life. But I understand what you're saying as well. Please, just give me a wrap up in 10 seconds so that we can just conclude this conversation.
Yeah, well, you know, we'll argue. I mean, I'll come up with my own way of thinking, and which I agree she'll come up with my own of thinking. But all what we need to focus is on a man, on a boy child, and we must start grooming our boys whilst they're still young, because you know it's very, very difficult to try and change a broken man. And I think Mamphintsha is a broken man. He's a weak man. You understand? And I therefore want to tell or request all men that can we then respect our women? Can we then stop abusing our women? Let's stop it now.
Let's do that. Final word from you.
I think we need to fundamentally look at how power works and change structures of power between men and women. And I don't think the answer at any point is A, the exclusion of victims or survivors, and B, the blaming of victims or survivors in any way, shape or form. Okay. That will get us to stopping the scourge.
Kwezi, thank you. Speaking to us from Oxfam, and Tshepo Mokoena also talking to us very passionately. He's the uncle of Karabo Mokoena, who was viciously killed by her boyfriend, Sandile Mantsoe. Gender-based violence, the topic of our conversation.